You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the Pilgrims were good at Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody.
Thank you, Jesus.
bar. No work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of the bar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Gotta tell themselves it's all right if you got it now, just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. I may not get it next week. You might try to stop me from getting it. But if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got to. So you don't depend on yourself. Take away from you so you understand how to depend on else. Come on here, Gator.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness. They create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. 4 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Barnett for bringing us up until the 9 o'clock hour with the promise. You can hear the promise every Monday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. bringing you the best in gospel music. Good way to start out your Monday morning. A great way to start out your week. And man, what a week. Particularly the culmination of the week when 10 people were murdered in Buffalo, New York, where a white supremacist drove 200 miles to target a black supermarket in a black neighborhood, particularly to murder black people in these yet to be United States of America. And today, we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about how is it that police in America are always afraid for their lives. They fear for their lives to the point where they murder unarmed black people. Yet they're never scared of armed white murderers. Somebody's going to have to explain that to me. Don't give me that crap. about just comply. I don't want to hear it. We know that's bull. Okay? Let's just keep it a buck. Tell that to Philando Castile and tell that to so many others who were complying and still got murdered by police. So I'm trying to figure out how black people who get pulled over for a busted taillight wind up dead, and white dudes who literally murder multiple people get taken without a scratch. And if the police are in a good mood, they take them out to eat. 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867. If you're in the Twitter space, put your request in. Let's talk about it. Do me a favor. Rep your city. Rep your town. Let me know where you are chiming in from. I already see Toronto, Canada checking in the house already. Let me know where you're chiming in from. And if anybody is from the Buffalo area, let me know that you're in the house. Our sincere condolences go out to all of the families. But we lost some in our family, our Church of God in Christ family. Mother Pearl Young. Mother Pearl Young. The mother, the sister-in-law to our beloved Bishop Glenwood Young out of Buffalo. You know, a mentor and a father to me. Always nice to me when I visit the Buffalo area. As a matter of fact, the last time I was in Buffalo, the wife and I were getting ready to leave and go back home, and it was a little snow, and he insisted that I stay and that he would put us up and take us to dinner. And he's just that type of a man. And my condolences to his brother on the loss of his wife, and to the entire Young family and the Church of God in Christ family on the loss of Mother Pearl Young, the loss of Deacon Patterson, another member of the Church of God in Christ, to Superintendent Russell Bell and his church family on the loss of their deacon. All of these hurt, but you know that it particularly hurts when it hits home for you. Yeah, we're going to talk about this thing. Good morning to Louisville, Kentucky. I see you. Good morning. Florida is in the house. Detroit, Michigan is on the gram. Good morning, good morning, good morning to every one of you, wherever you're chiming in from. Rep your city, rep your town. Good morning. I see Aunt Marion. I see Springdale, Maryland, Springfield, Mass in the house. Chicago is in the house. Connecticut is in the house. The 413 is in here deep. Houston, Texas is up in the house. Good morning to each and every one of you that are here. Philadelphia is up here in the house. Good morning. Good morning. Tell a friend, tell somebody the bishop is on the air. Like, share, subscribe. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this anti-black bigotry that continues in our nation. Let's talk about the fact that when hate crimes got up to 279 hate crimes for Asians in 2020, that they got a $5 billion anti-Asian hate crime law. That same year, hate crimes rose to nearly 3,000 for black people. We don't have an anti-black hate crimes law. The anti-blackness is thick in this nation and across the world. And that's what triggers the lack of response in Congress. That's what triggers the actions of police, where they can manage to arrest white murderers and murder unarmed black people. It's a deep subject, not one that I particularly care to be talking about, but let's have a conversation, family. Let's get ready. Put on your seatbelts, buckle up, because we're going to deal with it. All right. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
But the essence of growth has changed. The being in the road would be the end of the road if you refuse to change. Reach a little higher, reach a little higher, do a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Come on, come on, come on. Reach a little higher, come on, yeah. Dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Come on, but don't stop. The essence of life is growth. But the essence of growth is change. The beginning of the road will be the end of the road if you refuse to change. Your life will never change until you get disgusted with where you are. Whatever you don't hate is what you tolerate. You must learn from the past, plan for the future, and live for the God. For it is your daily routine that determines your success or failure in life. It's the choices that you have made up until this point that will determine the rest of your life. So break the cycle that doing enough is simply good enough. You don't get out what you put in, so don't settle for the crumbs so you can have a whole lot. So push beyond your limitations. Come on. Reach a little higher, reach a little higher, dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further. Don't stop, don't stop. Come on, reach a little higher, reach a little higher, dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. So you gotta break the routine of trying to beat the system. Manipulators will always try to bypass the process for the quick progress. There are no shortcuts to success. There are no elevators to the top. You gotta take it one step at a time. You gotta break the routine of allowing others to get into your head and control who you are and where you're going. You see, when you're about the positive, you're gonna always have haters. But don't let your haters push you down. Let your haters push you forward to the next level. So when people show you who they really are, don't perceive them to be something else that they're not. See, a zebra does not change his stripes. So you gotta keep pushing yourself to the next level. Yeah, there you go. Come on. Be a little believer. Come on. Yeah. Go a little further. Go a little further. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Reach a little higher. Reach a little higher. Be a little believer. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Go a little further. Come on. Come on. Come on. You got to understand the greatness is the nature that you were born out of. You'll never discover your greatness without hard work and dedication. Greatness says more about who you are and what you expect for yourself. And greatness will always attract greatness. Show me your friends and I'll show you the future. You just a step away. You just a step away. You just a step away. Don't ever give up.
All right.
You just a step away.
I got Germany in the house. By way of Florida. I got Kentucky in the house.
You see, there's no mountain too high.
I got Detroit.
You can go where you want to go.
Michigan
in the power of your
up in the house.
See me in this mode. You can do.
Rep your city, rep your town.
Take yourself.
Let me know where you're coming in from. Houston is in here. Detroit's in here again. Philly is in here again.
Come on.
Yes. Mexico, by way of Boston, is up in the house. I see you, cousin. Good morning. There's a blessing waiting on you. Right around the corner, fam.
Blessings are coming your way.
Tell your friends, tell the Bishop is on the air. We're going to talk deep today.
Don't stop. Don't stop until you get your dream. Don't stop. Get your dream.
I see you, Frat.
Come on.
Marvin Anderson in the building. I see you, George Floyd. George. I see you, Juanita Lopez, Timothy Cooper, up in the building.
Go. Come on. You gotta go for the goal. You gotta go for the goal.
Brother Grady,
Don't stop.
good morning, sir. The Reverend Jesse Preacher Man, Burgess, City Councilor Zaida Govan, good morning to you. Juanita Beeman, good morning to you. Sister Annie Beard, good morning to you. Good morning to everybody that's up in the building today. It's a sad day. It's a sad day. And we're praying for strength and comfort for those who have been affected. I see you, baby girl Whitney. Maryland back up in the house. 10 people murdered senselessly, racially motivated hate crime. I see you, Angela Thorpe, our third vice president. Senselessly. 18-year-old white man, and let's get the language right, first of all. He's not, stop describing him as a teenager. Stop describing him as a youth. Stop it. Just cut it out. Just cut it out. See, the media is complicit in this whole mess. When Mike Brown was murdered in Ferguson, the Associated Press called him an 18-year-old black man. Didn't say youth, teenager, nothing like that. Nothing like that. 18-year-old black man. The same Associated Press, when this heinous, wicked murder spree happened in Buffalo on Saturday, called Peyton Gendron, the white supremacist murderer, a white teenager. You see how they use language? Black man, threatening black man deserves to be killed by police. White teenager, youthful, irresponsible, didn't know what he was doing. They're very deliberate about the language that they use. I tweeted out on Saturday a message to the media. It's pinned to my Twitter page. Go check it out. It went viral. And what I said to the white-run media, I said Peyton Gendron is not a gunman, a shooter, an assailant, or any other adjective that they use to diminish the savagery of his crime. I said he's a white supremacist, a murderer, a terrorist, a rapacious, barbaric monster. And then told him to get the language right. Get the language right. Because they're very particular about the language that they use, because they want to put a picture in the minds of the public. So when black youth get into a fight, they use terms like thugs and hoodlums and violent. And when white youth get into a fight, they start turning over cars and acting a fool and burning stuff after their sports team lost. You know, they say, oh, it was a clash, it was a skirmish. They use different language when describing white folks, you know, because they want to humanize the white murderer and dehumanize the black victim, so that you will feel that the black victim deserved what happened to them, but the white murderer deserves empathy. You know, they begin talking about mental health issues. They begin to talk about a tough childhood. They talk about how he was bullied and all this other stuff, so that they will humanize the murderer, and then they will put up the worst pictures that they can of the victims, of black victims. And Trayvon Martin was murdered. You saw how they did that. Now they'll put up Sunday school pictures for white murderers, and then go find the worst picture that they can find for black people. The media is complicit in this type of continued racial violence against black people. And then, of course, they say that Peyton Gendron acted alone. I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. He didn't act alone. And the reason I say that he didn't act alone, because he acted in concert with members of Congress who helped create this atmosphere. Yes, members of Congress, your Marjorie Taylor Greens, your Ted Cruzes. He acted in concert with the NRA, with Tucker Carlson and other media personalities, with Fox News and Newsmax and CNN. He acted in concert with Republicans and Democrats. He acted in concert with white police, with mayors, with governors, with white evangelicals, with judges, with white supremacists, with America. They all have blood on their hands. They all have blood on their hands. Okay? They all have blood on their hands. How the Dems? See, here's my thing, Sister Angela. We have got to stop defending Democrats. Let's stop defending Democrats. Let me give you a classic example. Let me give you a classic example. It was just a little over a year ago. You all will remember Joe Biden sat and he signed the anti-Asian hate crime law. Okay? Now, what spurred that anti-Asian hate crime law? Well, they say there was a rise in hate crimes against Asians during the pandemic. From 2019 to 2020, they say there was a 79% rise, 76% rise in hate crimes against Asians. That spurred the Democrat-controlled Congress into action, into brokering a bipartisan bill to protect Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. And in March of last year, Joe Biden, with Vice President Kamala Harris by his side, surrounded by members of the Asian community, signed it into law. It allocated $5 billion and other resources, etc., etc. Now, let me give you the stats so you understand, Sister Angela. I want you to understand. Okay? According to the FBI, hate crimes against Asians rose 76%. Now listen to the numbers. From 158 hate crimes in 2019 to 279 hate crimes in 2020. So, an additional 120 hate crimes against Asians got them a $5 billion hate crime law to protect them. Let me give you the same stats for black people during that same time period. Hate crimes against black people during that same time period rose from 1,927 in 2019 to 2,871 in 2020. 49% increase. Almost 1,000 additional hate crimes against black people. Asians had an additional 120 hate crimes, raising their total to a measly 279 total. They got a $5 billion hate crime law spurred by the Democrats. Black people had nearly 3,000 hate crimes, an additional 1,000 hate crimes against them in the same time period, and Democrats hadn't proposed anything to protect black people. So you know, you talk about the Republicans all you want, but the anti-blackness among Democrats is real. They had so much empathy for the Asian and Pacific Islander community. Oh my God, an additional 120 hate crimes. Let's get a bill. The hell with the 1,000 additional hate crimes against black people who've been dealing with this madness in America for 400 years. They don't get a $5 billion hate crime law. That's just one simple example when you say how with the Democrats. That's one simple example. They are complicit. Just like Republicans and other folk are complicit. Excuse my passion. but you know, it's real because we, you know, and I get it. We see the blatant, overt, in your face racism of Republicans and conservatives, and because it's a kinder, gentler kind of racism from the Democrat, you know, we tend to protect the lesser of our two evils. But we got to keep it a buck. Let me bring Lynn on in the Twitter space. Lynn, unmute your mic. You're in the building. 10, rather. 10. 10, you're in the Twitter space. Good morning.
I'm actually just stepping in the room and hit the mic, so I just want to sit and digest a little about what's going on, and then I definitely will have something for it.
All right.
Peace and love.
All right, thank you. 413-337-1867. I had my Bluetooth off, so you all will be able to hear them better with the next one. 413-337-1867. If you're in the Twitter space, put your request in, and we'll definitely get you in. Let's get Joseph in the Twitter space. Joseph, you're in the building. Unmute your mic.
Well, good morning, Bishop. How you doing? Good morning, family. How's everybody doing? How you doing this morning, Bishop?
I'm good. You?
I'm doing wonderful. I happen to still live in the United States of Courtesy. Other than that, I'm good.
All right. Yes, sir.
And I just want to say this to you. I just want to say this to you. I follow you on Twitter. I have so much love in my heart for you. You are Nat Turner come back. Just know that.
Thank you, my
That's
brother.
what you are Nat Turner come back. And we need you here because we are under attack. We have been under attack. And it's time out for this nonsense. I'm a former Marine, and I don't put up with no anti-black hatred and nowhere around me. And thank you, Bishop, for always holding the candle, holding the light on for us. Even amongst those of us that don't understand what you do, don't get it, have been brainwashed to condition and to believing this story and these lies that they tell about us. And they continue to tell about us. So I appreciate all of you guys. Blessings and lots of love to the whole family. And thank you, Bishop, so much. And I'll land my plane. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. 413-337-1867 in the Twitter space. Put your request in. We'll get you on the air. There was a brother out yesterday being interviewed in Buffalo, and he was talking about all we need is hugs. No. He was hugging on the reporter and all that. All we need, that's all we need. We just need some. No, hell no. I am not in the mood for We Are the World. I'm not in the mood for Kumbaya, my Lord. I'm not in the mood for come by here, dear Lord. Come by here. I ain't in the mood for we need to be hugging on white people and all that kind of stuff. I'm in the mood for protect our family, protect our community. You heard a little clip when the show first came on when I said get strapped. I meant that. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Bishop. I'm calling in from Springfield, Massachusetts.
All right.
And I appreciate you so much for bringing the truth to the world, because some people just can't handle the truth. And what you're speaking is pure truth. I'm not in the mood for hugging and kissing and singing songs and dancing. It's time for battle. We're at war. And I appreciate the soldier that was there in that store. And he was a retired police officer. So he was firing on that young man. Bullets. Firing on him to take him out. And that's what needed to be done, is they need to be taken out. And I guess we're going to have to police our own communities. I guess that's what we're going to have to do. Those of us that have the gun licenses, I'm for battle. This is a war. We're at war. You got to fight fire with fire. That's what I believe, and I agree with you. I'm not in the mood for joining hands and singing.
Right.
We need to arm our families and be protected, because when the enemy comes at you and you're innocent, that's a coward. He was a coward to do what he did.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Killed women, grandmothers, innocent people.
Absolutely. Appreciate your call, my sister.
Thank you, sir.
413-337-1867. I'm not in the mood for hugs. This man drove 200 miles to attack a predominantly black neighborhood. Opened fire outside, started shooting folks in the parking lot first, then went in the building. Exchanged fire with the black security guard, killed the security guard, then went around shooting people, murdering people, elderly people. He murdered an 86-year-old great-grandmother. Mother Pearl Young was 77 years old. He's a monster. And then he went and surrendered to police. And now they got the nerve to talk about he's on suicide watch. If the coward wanted to commit suicide, he would have done it then. He's on suicide watch. So you're going to protect his life. Yes, I'm angry. Yeah. Let me let you. Black people have a right to be angry. We have a right to be angry, and you may not get the response that you think you're supposed to get. You're supposed to be a preacher. I'm the manifestation of Jesus in the temple with the whip. Okay? If Jesus was upset enough to whip the moneylenders out of the temple, don't you think he would be stark raving mad about white supremacists murdering people? I mean, come on now. That's right, baby girl. I'm a triple P. Absolutely right. A pistol packing preacher. And I may go out, but somebody is going to go out with me. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop. How you doing?
I'm good. You?
Not only that he did the shooting on Saturday, but he was at the store on that Friday. He was out there talking with one of the brothers, and he was talking about the race. So I guess what's going on? It's the new normal now. You know, you think about it. It was a black man with a gun, went into a white area, started shooting something. You know what? Even when the cops out there, they would have killed him.
Oh, the black man wouldn't have had to have a gun. You know, in America, police respond to separate calls for similar incidents, and they have drastically different results depending on the race of the individual. You know, the example I use, I put up a picture yesterday, side by side, of the police officer Slager, shooting Walter Scott, who got pulled over for a traffic violation. Shot him in the back 8 times. And then I put up next to that picture, a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse, fully strapped with his AR-15, standing in the midst of police officers, and the police are just ignoring him, and he had just murdered 2 people. So an unarmed black man pulled over for a taillight violation gets bucked down with 8 shots. Well, a white boy who just murdered 2 people has the police ignoring him, even with a rifle, an illegal rifle, strapped to his body. That happens all of the time. This man murdered 10 people, injured 3 others, and was safely taken into custody. Safely taken into custody. Dylan Roof murdered 9 people, injured others, safely taken into custody. Safely. Without a scratch on him. And then not only was he safely taken into custody, he was taken out to eat. He was taken out to eat. Okay? Taken out to eat. You hungry? You want to get a Whopper with cheese? Good morning, caller.
Good morning. Not
oh my goodness, you're fading.
That are in there kill him because of what they ridiculous that a black hate crime, like the hate crime that somehow get it passed because it. Thank you.
All right. I didn't hear all of what you said, Counselor. I did hear you talk about the anti-black hate crime bill. And and my, to Angela's question about the Democrats, my problem is see, here's the thing. Think about it. Every time we talk about those bills that are pertinent to black people not being passed by Democrats, people want to find excuses for them. They talk about Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. Well, Bishop, you got Manchin and Sinema. If we had more Democrats, then we could get it passed because we only got a slim majority. Blah, 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 blah. But somehow those same Democrats can convince Manchin and Sinema and some Republicans to support an anti-Asian hate crime bill. They can get them to agree to other things. It's just that they can't ever get them to agree to things that specifically benefit black people, which speaks to the rampant anti-blackness that exists among Democrats and Republicans. When we talk about reparations, y'all want to blame Manchin and Sinema. No, I'm sorry, because when Democrats had larger majorities in Congress, and they have had larger majorities in Congress. Matter of fact, we had a black president who had majorities in the House and Senate when he first came into office. Could have passed reparations then. We still talking about studying reparations. Every time it comes to dealing with something with black people, they can't ever get this bipartisan support that they can get for Asians and for gays and for everybody else. Why is that? Ask yourself that question. Why is that? This monster killed 4 elderly black women, pillars of their community. He murdered a 30-year veteran of the Buffalo Police Department, working as a security guard. I used to have, when I was the Bishop of Nova Scotia, we would have our workers' meetings in Buffalo. And we would always pass by Tops, about 2 miles from the church where we would hold our workers' meeting. That stretch down Jefferson. Pass by it every time. Our supervisor of our women's department shops there regularly. Matter of fact, she was with me in Vermont on Saturday at an event we had. Otherwise, she would have been home in Buffalo with her grandchildren, and likely at some point during the day, she would have been at Tops at that store. This is horrible. The motivation was racism, white supremacy, anti-blackness. But notice, police did not resort to any lethal force. No lethal force. Black people have been shot by police for having a comb, a brush, a bottle of medicine, a flashlight, a cell phone, nothing at all, because the cops feared for their lives. Yet, they knew this man had an assault weapon. But they didn't use lethal force on him. They didn't use lethal force. You remember Aurora, Colorado, movie theater, midnight screening of The Dark Knight. White boy dressed in full tactical armor, James Egan Holmes. He set off tear gas grenades, shot into the audience, murdered 12 people, injured 70 other people. He had full body armor, grenades, weapons, the whole nine. The police knew the artillery that he had. They didn't use lethal force. They didn't fire one shot. They fired one shot. I put up a video just the other day. Police were called to a home of a Latino woman, 75-year-old grandmother who had mental health issues, who spoke no English, who was having a mental health breakdown. The family called for help. The cop came and shot the grandmother and killed her. She was holding a knife. She was 50 feet away from him. Shot her twice. Killed her. When white men with assault weapons with body counts on their hand get handled with kid gloves and taken out to eat. It was reported that this monster was holding a gun to his own neck, threatening to kill himself, and the officers negotiated. Get it now? De-escalated his surrender. Oh, but they can't ever de-escalate a situation involving black people. This white man will live to see his day in court. They're going to protect him. They got him on suicide watch. They want to make sure he don't die. We'll see a day in court. Black folk, although for bogus reasons, often never see a day in court. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you?
I'm good. You?
I'm just stripping over what happened, but you brought up Aurora, Colorado. I just wanted to speak on the other situation, that young man, Elijah McClain, that was headed home, and the store he worked at, the store he was buying his snacks from, everybody there told the police what kind of man he was, and they told him he was being suspicious, and he explained to them how he had a medical condition, and he ended up dead, unarmed.
Well, John Crawford was shopping in Walmart and was holding a BB gun that they sold at the store because he was considering buying it. White folks in the store called the cops because he's in the section where the guns are, holding this BB gun. The cops come in the store and shoot him to death.
And nobody in the store was tripping, except a couple that called 911, and they went to court and got off because they should have never. They knew he had a BB gun because it was tagged. He was buying it for his son. But one question I had for you, Bishop, was whatever happened to the Georgia Boyd Policing Act? I believe it was passed in the House, but I don't know what happened in the Senate. Do you know anything about that?
Well, no, it didn't pass. Okay. It's not law. It was something that Joe Biden promised the family. The family that they would get that passed. Once again, whenever it comes to legislation that is pertinent to black people, the Democrats can never seem to get it through. And it ain't just about Joe Manchin and Christian Cinema, because they got the anti-Asian thing through.
Mm-hmm.
They managed to get so many other things through. It's anti-blackness.
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, my brother lives in Boone County where this monster's from, and I called him and told him, do you know the guy who did the shootings from Boone County? He said, I didn't know that. And he said, I bet you he made it to the back of the wagon. I said, of course he did.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have a blessed week, sir.
You too. Take care. My goodness. Let me get Angel in the Twitter space. Angel, unmute your mic. You're on the air. Good morning, Angel.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
I think we can talk about this in circles.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing we need to realize is it comes down to genetics. In Genesis 25:25, God clearly told us what we were going to be dealing with till the end of days. In Malachi, he clearly told us what race he favored. So we're shocked that these Neanderthals have to use violence to maintain control on the globe. If you don't believe me, go to the Smithsonian Project. They have $1 million project, a study that we've been doing for about a decade on Neanderthals. Currently in the United States, there's about 3% of the blood population ties back to the Neanderthal bloodline. And if you remember growing up, we often used to see those pictures of a caveman who's dirty with a club. They're not lying when they say that they're like that. Their limbic brains are larger than human brains. So this is why you get the guttural reaction of shooting a black man before understanding a problem. That's a classic Neanderthal trait. When you deal with a larger limbic system in your brain, that's the dumbest part of your brain. It's the fight or flight portion of your brain. And historically on MRI, Neanderthals or white people from Europe have a larger limbic system in their brain. So they're more reactive when they are forced to see something that they do not recognize or like. Once I think Black Americans around and just black people around the globe realize when they call us monkey ass, that's actually a compliment. That means we are human. The closest link to a Neanderthal, and you can read this on Smithsonian, their bloodline ties back not to a monkey, which is something that's human. It ties back to a four-legged beast, an Arctic bear, hence the cave people. We know that Arctic bears are lonely and very violent, so hence the violence that you see today. It's in their blood to be this way. And that is all I want to say. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you for chiming in. About 7 minutes left in the program before we move over into Justice and Flow. Let me get 10 back in the Twitter space. All right, 10, you're back in. You're back up. Good morning. All right.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
Peace and love. This is Ken again.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you hit on every bullet point that I was going after.
All right.
Okay, I sit back. Okay, first of all, I'm formerly from Scoop. I'm calling you from the Virgin Islands, currently in Florida right now.
Okay.
But I sit back and I analyze everything that's going on. You know, these Caucasian people sit back and wonder what's going to kick us off. What's going to finally make us react. To the point that we have no other alternative but to involve ourselves in what they really want, which is
a race war.
War.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to take it all the way back from slavery. How they raped our ancestors, men and women, children included, ripped the babies from the mothers, destroyed the lineage, the history. Half of us don't know our ancestral history, where we come from, our lost family members. Mm-hmm. They totally annihilated our knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
from cutting babies out of pregnant women, ripping the children away, sending them off to different plantations, okay? To feeding the babies to alligators and crocodiles, using them as bait, to the most heinous actions that Black people can't fathom. We have been complacent. Let me reverse that. Let me retract that. We have been welcoming, because that's in our genetic DNA, that's our makeup, to be a nurturing and loving and kind people.
Listen, if that wasn't in our DNA, I know. I said if it wasn't in our DNA, we would have set it off in America a long time ago.
A long time ago. Okay, but just like the elephant, originally the female elephant had tusks also. But because they traumatized that female elephant by slaughtering her just for her ivory, the trauma translated through the DNA to now where the female elephants don't develop tusks anymore.
My goodness.
Okay? So, through our DNA, we still continue to be welcoming. We're like the great grandmothers that sit on the porch and say, "Come here, baby. Let me wipe your boo-boo. Let me give you something to eat."
Yeah, we're the ones who want to give them hugs. We want to forgive. We want to keep it moving. All of that kind of stuff.
Even to our demise.
Absolutely, and I'm not in the mood for that anymore. I gotta move on to the next segment, but I want to thank you for your chiming in on the program. Good morning, Jeffrey. Good morning, Lyle Seymour. Good morning to so many of you all who are with us. We're going to continue on with the spoken word in our next hour. I know some of you are trying to get in via telephone. Sister Thorpe, I know you've been trying to get in, and I want to let you in, but I got to transition. Off of TCC. Matter of fact, Sister Thorpe, give us another call right quick. I'm gonna see if I can get you in. I got 2 minutes before I got to move off of WTCC into Justice and Flow. If you can get your call in right now, we'll get you on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. Let me turn this down real quick. You know, one thing, there's so much that's going on, Bishop. And listen, the one thing too, I know you're not going to be able to unpack it, but there is a 9-year-old or 10-year-old young white boy that went to the house of a Black young girl, banging on the door with a whip.
I saw. I got that up. Yeah.
That is crazy.
What that teaches us is that white supremacy has not dissipated. It just continues to get passed down from generation to generation.
But it does show that when the father went to the house, that is us trying to reach out and say, you know, something must be wrong. Yeah. And then when the father of the white boy brought out his gun and barely missed shooting the young Black girl, and I'm glad he was brought up on charges, but that's a wow moment for me.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't have been, but it really is. There's so much going on right now.
All right.
Okay.
I gotta go.
That's all I wanted to squeeze in. Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you. For those of you looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. We start at 11 o'clock a.m. every Sunday morning. For those of you who are on social media, we're going to continue on with Justice and Flow coming up next. For those of you on WTCC, until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I. We'll be right back. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
All that's out there.
Justice and Flow listeners, family. Good
Good
morning,
morning.
family.
Good morning. We got one person in the Twitter space. You want to hear them and then bring. I see you got a guest coming in.
Actually, I want you to bring her on because I think we just gonna go with the flow this morning, and she's the perfect person to participate in whatever conversation we have today. So you can bring her on. Listen, everybody, if you've been following Justice and Flow for any time, this is one of our favorite people. Justice and Flow's favorite people in the community. We love her, we respect her. And anytime she's having a conversation with anybody, she's elevating the conversation, she's elevating the community. This is none other than our own friend, our own sister, the queen, Tanisha Arena. She's joining us today.
Good morning.
Good morning, Good morning.
It's been
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good morning. I know. We putting on this smile right now, but our hearts are heavy. Our hearts are heavy, and I don't know. T, if you got to listen to any portion of a spoken word this morning, but certainly, everybody is a little heavy and hurt right now. So we want to continue that conversation, and if possible, we will switch later on and pick up part 2 of where we left off on last week. But we're gonna go with the flow this morning, and like I said earlier, you're the perfect person to have any conversation with. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm the perfect person to have these conversations with.
Yeah,
Okay.
you are.
Okay.
You are. In my mind, you absolutely are. You absolutely.
Well, this is deep. I mean, and I guess the sad thing for me is that we have to continue to have these conversations. That it just, it never seems to stop.
Right.
It's just crazy that in 2022 we're continuing to talk about Black folks being targeted, in the way that they were on Saturday, and we know that it's not going to stop with this incident. And then the responses that we've had only exacerbate what we're already feeling. The trauma Black people already feel, because we have to deal with this on a day-by-day basis. And then we have some of our own people. I call them the buck dancing brigade, the coon patrol,
Coon in the gang.
coon in the gang. You got Candace Owens and Larry Elder and Vernon Jones out there talking about, but what about Chicago? While 10 Black people get murdered, including our seniors, and we got buck dancing, tap dancing Negroes talking about, what about Chicago? It's absolutely crazy to me. It's crazy.
Yeah. And my question: what about Chicago?
Yeah. What about it?
You're in these positions of power, so what about Chicago? Why does Chicago look this way? Why is this happening? And for me, it's like, yeah, we're still talking about this, but we're not taking action about this. And that's at that state and federal level, but also knowing this is what this country does. This is how it was made. This is how it sustains itself. And until we tell the truth about that and have that kind of reckoning, we are just going to keep doing this. And it's also knowing that this is the terror that we live under, because you can't prevent it. You can't, there's no accountability for it. And we have no place to put the rage that we feel. So then it winds up in our families, creating more trauma. And it's misplaced because you can't go off on the officer that is terrorizing you. And so, yeah, you're taking that out on your partner and your kids.
But they can, and they can live. I put a compilation together, just showing white folks slapping, kicking, beating on police officers. None of them get shot. None of them get tased. None of them get murdered. It's par for the course. For them, they look at us and we're threatening.
Right.
And this is what's threatening.
Thank you. Blackness is the weapon. It doesn't matter. That's how your cell phone, right? Your cell phone. Oh my gosh, I thought they had a gun. I was so afraid. But white officers are faced with white people literally holding guns, and they're not afraid. So you're not afraid of the guns. And if you've got all this training and everything else, and you're afraid, you're in the wrong line of work. Here's talking about being afraid.
They've managed to not murder armed white people every single day. I was looking at this one case where a white man fired 200 rounds at police. The police never returned fire. Never returned.
Your life in danger? Like, if somebody fired 200 rounds at you, your life is in danger. So why wouldn't you draw your weapon and fire back?
Yeah.
You're literally under attack. Oh, it's something I can't quite put my finger on it. But yeah, that's it. Blackness is the weapon. And I've been listening to some of the commentary. We all listen to Urban View and everything else. And Clay came the other day. They were talking about Vader, Texas, and how it's a sundown town. And they were the truckers passing through and all the things they were talking about with basically just like Clan Central. And this is the police looked the other way, and it was like I just thought, what would actually happen if all the black folks did the same thing? Not that I'm saying like anybody's dominance is good. Like we don't want to do that. You don't want to become like your oppressor and then magically you're better, because that's not how that works. But what would this actually turn into? Like if we rolled up with black sheets and terrorized and was doing all the things, like, because there are far more of us than them, could we institute that same kind of terror? Because they're trying it, because there's the part of us that defers in this way. And what if we didn't try it?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We would find that the same Democrats and Republicans that are reluctant to support legislative actions that protect black people would have a change of heart if it were black folks terrorizing, or if it was black folks armed. They would have no problem. The example I always go to is in the 1960s when Ronald Reagan was governor of California and the Black Panthers went to the state capitol armed. They then, the legislature passed the Mulford Act. There was restrictive gun legislation because they wanted to get them guns out of the hands of them Negroes. And it was the first time in history that the NRA actually supported restrictive gun legislation because they wanted to get guns out of black people's hands. And I often say, if you ever want them to really act on gun legislation, black folk just go get guns.
That's it. Yeah.
If all of us just went out and got strapped, and especially in all these open carry states, if it was black folk rolling around, strapped up and stuff like that, man, they would change them gun laws in 15 minutes.
I agree. And I've been saying that too. And I also say black folks don't have Second Amendment rights. The open carry states, I think that that's a setup, because there's no way a police officer is going to roll up on you and you have a gun, and this is an open carry state, and not assume that you are a perpetrator, you're the bad guy, and they're going to kill you. They're going to kill us. So that feels like a setup. But if every person went out, a black person became a registered gun owner, yep, I agree. We would have gun reform in 2 seconds. As long as it's white folks killing us, and even killing other white folks, because they do that too, that white on white crime. I'm from Connecticut, and I still lived in Connecticut when Sandy Hook happened. And I remember talking to my mom and saying, Mom, these were their kids in an affluent town, little white kids, and they don't care. They love their guns more than anything else, even their own babies. So we don't stand a chance.
That's what we learned with Sandy Hook. Listen, if I may, I just want to add a different perspective to this. I know that we're kind of talking about the policing system as it relates to, how we're dealt with in times like this. However, with it being Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm kind of thinking about the impact events like this, have on our community as a whole, our mental well-being, and certainly the triggering effects, and impact that plays, all of that. So just being traumatized in this way, I was thinking about George Floyd the other day. I still have not been able to watch the video. I heard a few seconds of the video, and that was traumatizing enough. I've never been able to watch the video, don't want to see the video. And from what I'm hearing, there's a video out there of the Buffalo incident as well. And so I've been reading about some of the people who were murdered. And we need to make sure that we are using the proper language, or whatever, but who were murdered, were massacred, on that day. And these were all innocent people these were grandparents, and these were husbands, and these were wives, these were fathers. One father, a young father, I think he was like 38 years old, was there to buy a birthday cake for his 3-year-old son. He didn't even live in Buffalo. He was visiting from Auburn, I believe, New York, and he came to celebrate his son's birthday. Another young lady, which they say was the first one to be killed, they think was the first one to be killed. She was in town taking care of her sick brother who had just had some type of bone marrow transplant, I believe it was a bone marrow transplant. And she decided to go to the grocery store, check this out, to buy food to make a special meal for the family to come over and visit with him. And she didn't make it back to home. And of course, Bishop, of the deacon, Deacon Patterson, who was a member of the Church of God in Christ. He his ministry, oh God, this is gonna make me cry, but his ministry, Sister Tanisha, was picking up people who did not have transportation to the grocery store, and he took it up on himself to provide transportation to the grocery store for people in need. And so he was at the grocery store that day, and he did not make it back home to his wife. Anyway, needless to say, we need to stop and breathe in and take this stuff in. And I think one of the things we need to be very, very careful of, Tanisha, we need to be very careful of the names that we do call. Like, in other words, I'm saying, because every time we lift up a name, we giving power to it, right? Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure that we're calling names of and I hate this word for other reasons, but of the victims. We need to make sure that we're calling the names of the lives, the precious lives that were lost. This monster killed the best of us, and that's what's happening. That's the other piece to this. These people are not just taking out, people, but they're taking out the best of us, And I believe that is very intentional, and I believe that is very purposeful. But my point to what I was trying to get back to, we need to stop, and we need to breathe. We need to acknowledge our trauma. We need to acknowledge the fact that we've been triggered. We need to acknowledge the fact that we're hurt, and stop trying to be so quick to, oh my God, and go back. I said, I'm getting tired. Right. I'm getting tired of saying, oh, I'm praying for the family.
Listen, let me.
We gotta put walking. We gotta put legs to the prayer.
Let me
put a open mouth to the prayer. We just can't pray in peace. Oh God, comfort. No, we need to ensure justice. We need to support the families. We need to check on these families. We need to make sure that they got all that they need, to give their family members proper burials. We need to surround these families. We need to be with them on the long run. We just can't say, oh God, I'm praying for Buffalo and this, that, and the other, and turn around and go back to our regular lives. No, we need to stop, breathe, take in, acknowledge the trauma. But, also, like you said, Tanisha, get back, unify as a whole community, as Black people together, and and make sure that things are done politically, but also economically, and in all ways possible, so that we can do something about these types of events.
Let me I want to chime in on your statement about the impact on health. Then I'm going to bring one person up from the Twitter space, and then I'm going to leave it to you two ladies, because I've got to get on a call with a group of national clergy with the White House at 10:30. But when you talk about the impact on health, it's proven racism causes frequent stress on the body. It also triggers stress coping behaviors, like smoking, like doing drugs, like bad eating habits, like the inability to sleep. There have been studies that investigate the links between between black people's race, their experience of discrimination, and their risk for diseases like high blood pressure. And they find that we are more likely than white folks to be treated for many different diseases that have a direct impact because of the stress that is caused by the racism that we have to deal with on a day-by-day basis. And that's one of the things when we went through this whole pandemic and they were talking about the comorbidities of black people. And if y'all just take care of your health better, you wouldn't be dying of COVID at a higher rate than others. Well, yeah, well, if y'all didn't put us through 400 years of hell, we would already be in a healthier place, than we are. And
still going through hell. We still in hell, Bishop.
Right. And then the blaming of individuals, right? If you just took better care of your health, that happens all across under white supremacy. It's to blame you, the individual, instead of attacking the systems and institutions that created the conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could take better care of my health if you would get your knee off my neck.
Right.
With all of your stuff. Like, if I had a full service grocery store in the community that I live in, so I had access to healthy foods that contribute to the disparities that I have, my high blood pressure and diabetes, right? In addition to being stressed out about all these other things, like when the cops followed me for like 5 miles and I ain't did nothing except exist in my black body. That might have something to do with it. Can we talk about that though? Like, it's that thing. It's
morning. Can you hear me?
Sister Melinda's in the Twitter space. I'm gonna let her get her piece in, then I'm gonna leave it to you ladies. Go right ahead.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good morning, Bishop, and everyone in the space. I'll go quickly because I have a client in about 10 minutes, but I really agree. First of all, I just want to say thank you for providing a space for us to be able to work through the triggers that were, mentioned. And I am actually doing that as a, mental health counselor. I find myself doing a lot of decolonized mental health counseling, okay, which, taking into consideration what we have been through as a people from generation to generation. So I thank you for this space. And what I struggle with as a believer, and I echo what the young lady was saying, is, I've prayed. I mean, I know how to pray, fast, and, be an intercessor, all of that. But I'm finding it really difficult to, because I wonder, well, what is the action? We've marched, we try to push legislation. I mean, what is the action? And looking at what we're facing, it seems to me like it's inevitable that eventually there will be a race war. So I'm wondering, do we, and you don't necessarily have to answer the question, it's just me, I guess, trying to talk through with my own people, but it's like, yes, pray and take action, and I also hear prepare, because we might have to come to the realization that that's what it's going to be. The Bible does say there'll be wars and rumors of wars, right? All different types of wars, and we know that that's not the end. But I just wanted to share that and put that out in the space. And again, thank you for providing a way for us, because that's part of the healing for us, to be able to recognize our triggers, talk about them, process them in a way that we're not, told to, oh no, that's not right, or, where we can be heard. So thank you for letting me share.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Sister Melinda, for that phone call. That was exactly what, I was trying to get to. The fact of the matter is we need to stop not acknowledging and recognizing and taking the time to kind of unpack the trauma. Just because just turning around or trying to turn around and be very dismissive is causing more harm to our mental health than good. So that's definitely one of the points that I was trying to make. As you know, I'm a person of faith as well, and I do believe in the power of prayer. But I also believe that prayer is not just on your knees, in the privacy of your home or protected churches or whatever the case may be, silently communing with God. I do believe that prayer without works is dead. And so I do believe that I think it's someone I heard saying it. It may have been Muslim. It may have been my Muslim sister who said that prayer has feet. Prayer has hands, right? Prayer has feet. Prayer has hands. Prayer has a brain. Prayer has activism. Prayer has, responsibility.
But then the Bible says, watch.
Prayer has voting. You go to the polls and you vote. You go to the school committee meetings and you confront. You go to the city council meetings and you confront. And so prayer is more than just you having a private conversation with God. And if you are having these private conversations with God, believe me when I say, because I know God is also giving you a commission. So he's telling you what to do. He's leading you and he's guiding you. So he's telling you what to do with your feet, with your hands. So you're absolutely right. Prayer is action. Prayer is action.
We got a caller, y'all.
Not now.
Okay.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, God bless you, Bishop.
How you doing?
I am doing fine. This is my first time calling you.
All right. Well,
can you hear me pretty clear?
I can hear you.
Yes. Like someone said, we need to police our own communities. Somehow, they know how to send us bills for our lights, for our gas, and everybody's on one accord and has to respond to that. We're going to have to develop something that goes door to door too, that gets our attention as a people, where we come together in our own neighborhoods. When there's catastrophes in different places, they have what do you call that? Some type of emergency where they respond to build the places back up in this country, whether it's through fire, whether it's through tornadoes or whatever the case may be. And what we see is it's a crime against humanity. And it seems like when we try to merge into their society expecting the same reaction that any normal human being should get, we don't get it. They use it as an advantage to disenfranchise us, to exploit us. So somehow we're going to have to do some door-to-door knocking and develop some type of system that gets us on one accord. If it's listening to one another on the radio at one time, or everybody tuning into you, something's got to be done. So I'm praying, and we need God's intervention.
Yeah.
And he needs our intervention. And so I thank God for people like you getting our attention, and I'm going to continue to share you and listen to you. God bless you.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Watch and pray. That means I can watch, I can pray, but I'm watching at the same time. Malcolm said, listen, love people, treat everybody right, obey the law. But if someone puts his hands on you, send them to the cemetery. The reality is, we have a right to protect ourselves, our family, our property. We have that right. And so I just hate when people get our faith mixed up with being, make it synonymous with being docile and passive. and being doormats to be walked over. No, I can be a Christian, a Muslim, or whatever your faith tradition is, and obey the tenets and believe in the tenets of that faith tradition, while at the same time, if you come for me or mine, there's going to be consequences and repercussions. I'm going to leave it to you, ladies, and jump on this call real quick, but I'll definitely be listening in the background.
Right.
So, T, we're a little bit all over the place, but
that's okay.
Where are you right now? Where are you right now?
It's all connected. So, listen to the last caller. I would agree that we do need to come together in our community, but we have our own community work, right? Because we're in community, and then we got Coon in the game, so we got to deal with that, right? So I'm like, we're still doing plantation politics, even though we're not on the literal plantation, and a lot of that is coming from a place of survival. We are doing those things to make sure we could continue on. Like, if you think about, like, what would make someone align with whiteness? That's, to me, it's like, oh, my bedroom is next to master bedroom. We in the house and everything good and it's going to be fine. And if I do what he say and I, put down my own people, like, I won't get beat. My kids won't get sold. I'll get extra food. Like, all of the things about survival. But at the end of the day, whether you're in the house and I'm in the field, we're still on the plantation. Can we get free? Because master will still let you know, whether you're in the house or not, that you're not free, you're not white. The concept of whiteness is indeed that, a concept, because whiteness can be bestowed upon you in this country, because once upon a time it was the Irish and the Italian immigrants who were persona non grata. But then that could be given to you. And those are the same folks who forget and say all the things that they do, and it's like, look, you were in this too. Like, we all have a common enemy, and that is white supremacy and racism, capitalism, those intersections. And now we have the intersection of capitalism and COVID. Like, we live under a constant state of stress, 24/7, 365 in Black bodies in this country that people don't want to acknowledge. But the reality is there, because we have the data. We are the data. All of our health disparities. And, there's a comment in the chat. Somebody wanted to know what kind of resources could we give for young folks experiencing racial trauma. And I'm just like, ooh, I wish I knew.
See, I think that's part of our responsibility too. Like, we're not organized enough, like, because we're being hit constantly, like you said, right? We're being hit constantly. We're slowing down enough, just enough to say, oh my God, or whatever. But at the same time, we're not staying together enough, to create, stable resources or, national resources or whatever, where people can access, the resources that they need at the time that they need it, right? So, it should be more, and we should know more. I'm sure that there are resources created in silos, because people have ideas. I have 1,001 ideas. But I'm just now really getting started. And, and it's just so massive. It's overwhelming. And that's also part of, how we have to deal with the trauma. That's also part of it, not having resources readily available to us. As a licensed mental health counselor myself, just like Melinda is, who called in earlier, I've often said with our
the DSM-5.
DSM, right?
Here's the kicker. As a clinician, let me ask you this, right? Now, I have a friend who does work in mental health spaces, and she talks about suicide as a natural response to living in a hyper-capitalistic society. And I agree. Because, like, this stuff was like, this is ghetto. I don't want to be here. Bye. Makes sense to me. And I'll talk about it with some lightness, because I think the humor also helps people remember. But it's like, or crabs in a barrel. First of all, crabs don't belong in a barrel.
They don't.
So you're witnessing unnatural behavior to an unnatural condition.
There you go.
And that's literally what we are experiencing as Black people in this system.
Right.
This is not how anyone is designed to live.
I totally agree. But what I was gonna say about the DSM-5, the research, the variables are primarily white people.
Yep.
So, you know, and so one of the things I feel Black people need to have, we need to have our own DSM-5. You know, DSM-5. I mean, you know, I hate to say it like this, but there are a lot of diagnoses that are in the DSM-5 that may, you know, you may come across in the Black community, but it's gonna be different.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be different. You just brought up suicide, Tanisha. That was one of the areas, right? Suicidal ideations and suicide or attempted suicide, you know, or whatever. That was one of the areas. Check this out. When you think about mental disparities, if you will, that was one of the areas. And excuse my word, but you know, I'm going to use it, you know, for the sake of expediting this conversation. We were excelling in. In other words, you know, Black folk were not committing suicide or attempting suicide or having suicidal ideations at the same rate as people in the white community. White until listen to this. Until COVID. COVID is changing those numbers. So suicidal ideations, and certainly attempted suicide is rising drastically in the Black community ever since COVID has started to hit strong, you know, and it's for obvious reasons. We are more impacted, you know, as a community with COVID loss, and also testing positive with COVID. But if we've lost 1 million people, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's somebody out there listening, maybe you can correct me. If I'm not mistaken, 60-some% of those were Black people, you know, or whatever. My mother being one. And I would even say, although technically my brother didn't die from COVID, he died from the impact that COVID had, you know, on him. And so he eventually died or succumbed to heart disease, you know, succumbed to a heart disease. But he died 6 months after my mom died. So it's definitely related to her death. And but anyway, and my whole family had contracted COVID. My whole family down in Texas had contracted COVID, and my mom was the one who succumbed, you know, to it. So, but nevertheless, the impact of COVID is changing those numbers with the suicide rate. So, you know, we're not, according to the census, you know, we're only like 14% of the population or whatever. So disproportionately speaking, again, you know, the suicide rates have increased, I believe, about 3 times as much as it was, proportionately speaking, as it was before COVID hit. So, so you have things like that, and then the DSM-5, like I said, it does not take into account the impact of racism because there's not enough studies, no research, you know, is being done. We need anthropologists, we need all kinds of people, you know, or whatever, willing to do the research necessary, you know, to get, you know, some information going so that we can develop such things as a DSM-5 for African Americans or descendants of slaves, or maybe even BIPOC community, or whatever the case may be, or communities, or whatever case may be. But like I said, you know, a lot of times with the disorders, there are going to be some nuances to it. There's going to be some differences to it. It's not just going to be a blanket, oh, okay, with ADHD, it looks like this. It might look like that for a white kid. And, you know, and I hate to be blunt like that, but it may look like that for a white kid, but it might be a little bit different, you know, for a Black kid, you know, who's experiencing racism, but also domestic violence or poverty or so on and so forth. So, we got to take all of those things into account.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I spent some time in therapeutic space where my colleagues were therapists, and it was actually a therapist of color who said to me that when we experience depression, anxiety, things like that, it looks like anger.
Yeah.
And I immediately thought about the kids that my youngest was in school with and the things that she talked about. And I was like, how many of these students are actually experiencing undocumented, unknown trauma? And it's showing up like anger. So now they're in-house suspension and the resource officers call and all these other things. And they're funneled into the school to prison pipeline because the administration isn't taking these things into account. Absolutely. And then when you have communities where, okay, so the student population is 90% Black and brown, but the teachers and administration are 90% white. How does that work? Right. And then I don't care about feelings. So I will say the things exactly as they are because straight talk makes for straight understanding. And this, like, I'm not going to coddle feelings when there are people who look like me who are dying. And I tell white people all the time, you will not die because you're uncomfortable. And I know this because I live in this and I'm still here. So you can hear about it. And I also invite them in to say, we could trade places if you want. The idea, like, see what this actually feels like. And knowing, like, because I don't want to name the things from this kid's manifesto about, like, the worst thing that you could be is somebody marginalized because they get treated poorly.
Right.
Right, because the system is garbage.
Right.
And that's what needs to come down. Who can do that work? I think that is the work of white folks to undo white supremacy and racism because that is a system that benefits them. And it's like, if you're going to design a top-notch security system, you go in and you ask the burglars because they can tell you these are the things that we know how to get around.
Right.
So that's their work. Our work in community, which I think is really important, and I do talk about this a lot and try to live that out loud. We do have to take care of ourselves, cultivate gratitude and joy, do those things as an act of political resistance and also to be here. Like, I got grandbabies now. I know you got grandbabies. Like, what is my role?
I do.
Be around for them.
Yeah.
And that I go out in the garden, I run, I pray, I meditate, I spend time with people, I eat good food, although I do like cookies and pies and cakes and things, but moderation, right? Because we can do those things.
Right.
And it's like every day there is something designed to take us out. Like we can't get a minute to breathe.
Right.
It's like, okay, so while I'm at the rally talking about bans off my body and reproductive rights, that's an entirely different thing.
That is.
This is happening. So it's just like, this thing too. And what it represents to us collectively. Because I haven't seen a video. I know that it happened. I've never seen the video of George Floyd. I'm with you. Like, we stay off of that stuff. That trauma porn is bad. That's bad for our mental health.
Trauma porn.
You don't need to see that video. You don't need to see any of them to know what's in there. It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
And to your point about we need research. If they've already done studies to know that the descendants of Holocaust victims and survivors carry that trauma in their DNA.
Epigenetics. That's what it's called.
We can know that too. Like, just without any more studies. Like, epigenetics over here has shown us this.
Right.
Human beings are pretty damn identical.
Right.
It's also over here, and you're talking about a group of people that have experienced extreme duress for 400 plus years. So, without another study, we can safely say that those things are in our DNA. Just like when they stormed the Capitol and Ayanna Pressley talked about that terror, I didn't need to see the video. I knew in my bones because I got loyalty, got royalty, got trauma also inside my DNA. So we don't need to see that. I stay away from those things. I intentionally not watch TV because they will literally, we're going to show this explicit video. Why are you showing it then?
And, and getting back to the mental health of that, it desensitizes us.
And
if
that's
we listen to it too much or we watch it too much, we will get to the point of where we're desensitized by it. So it won't be so horrific. So it won't be, you won't feel it. You'll become numb. Right.
Just another day. Like, hey, this is what we do.
Just another day.
It's not okay.
Right.
Like, there are other countries that are looking at us like, what are you doing?
Right.
Because now we have a global economy, and that's good and bad, right? If you're talking about keeping your dirty laundry like in your house, you can't, because it's everywhere.
Right.
Social media is a game changer in that regard.
Right.
It goes viral. Everybody saw it. So it even makes the gaslighting that this country does really hard. We're like, that didn't happen. No, that's not a thing. Everybody saw it. Everybody saw it. So you can't deny these things. And it's, again, we've got to name this stuff so we can know it, because there is racial gaslighting that happens, and it affects our mental health. Where if you're in a space and you're naming like, this is a microaggression, and white people are like, no, that's not a thing, and I don't see a problem. You're like, wait, what?
What?
And it starts to tear us down.
It does.
These things are real, and they are happening
every
single day, from the making our kids cut their locks so they can graduate, which no, we're not doing that.
Come on.
Like that's a thing that should not happen, right? Like the fact that there has to be a law passed that my hair can exist as it grows out of my head. But we're not criminalizing those things. Like, white folks, y'all hair just laid in, it doesn't do anything. Like, I think something's wrong with that. Like, nope, you shouldn't be able to wear your hair to work that way. No, it's not professional. All of these things are about dominant culture, white supremacy, the tenets of white supremacy. Even that DSM-5, that's white folks deciding what is mental illness versus not. But not ever looking at, these are the systems and institutions that create this. Because even for white folks, white supremacy is harmful.
Yes.
If you're growing up, imagine the kids who was at the lynching. Children. That is the experience of violence, and to have that normalized in your life.
Normalized.
If you're a white person, because I think human beings know the difference between right and wrong in their soul. What do you have to do mentally to make it make sense inside as a white person? To turn away. No, this is fine and this is good. And what do you have to do? That's hurting you too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, white people would rather be sick and have the illusion of superiority than to heal together in community with Black folks. Because we all need the same things. You need healthcare just like I need healthcare. You need clean air and clean water just like I do. You need to be able to rest and to not work yourself into the ground in a hyper-capitalist society. Your babies need formula just like our babies need formula. And it's not the individual, and that I got to name this in the space too, like to say, well, breast milk is free. Not every woman can breastfeed.
Not everyone.
There are problems with that. And again, it's about pathologizing and criminalizing the individual instead of looking at the systems and institutions that created that condition. Hyper-capitalism, there's one large producer of infant formula. Why? Because they swallowed up everybody else.
Yeah.
So now when they have a problem, we all have a problem because there's just one. And it's not about the people, it's hyper-capitalism.
Right.
And who is disproportionately affected?
And
Black
that's
and brown people. And there you see the intersection of capitalism and racism. They've been dating since 1619.
Thank you. Thank you. You just wrapped it up in a nutshell. That was a history lesson. Like, that was history 101. That was Black history 101. And how white supremacy is basically utilized, to cause all of this harm. I oftentimes think about, as a matter of fact, I was thinking about it this morning before the show. I oftentimes think about how in the world did white supremacy convince poor white people
because white
they were benefiting,
white.
Somehow.
That is the thing. So poor whites and poor Blacks don't experience poverty and the issues in the same way because you can elevate out of those things in whiteness. We've seen this, we know this. And it is the myth of superiority.
Yeah.
Even if I'm a poor white person, I'm still better than a rich Black dude because I'm white. And therein lies the trickery. This is all about smoke and mirrors because, like, listen, you are over here experiencing rural poverty. You don't have teeth in your mouth and you have a Trump pen sticker on your broken down pickup truck. And those dudes don't care about you because this system was designed for one specific individual, a cisgender, heterosexual, rich, white man.
So you have to define cisgender. And I'm going to tell you why you have to define cisgender.
Okay.
I had this conversation in my clinical group. Actually, the class was on the different sexual identities, the different sexual identities. First of all, let me admit to the fact that I was blown away because I had no idea it was about 8 of them listed in this class that I was in. And so I was looking for heterosexual, and when I didn't see heterosexual, I got a little confused.
Like, what is that category? What's happening?
Right, exactly.
So there's a difference between sexual identity and sexual orientation, gender identity, sexual orientation. So I'm a cisgender, Black, lesbian woman, right? And so the cis part, it means that in my mind, in my soul, in my spirit, I'm a woman and my body is in alignment with that. For someone who identifies as trans, there is, I don't want to say a disconnect, but there's a mismatch where like maybe in their spirit, soul, mind, I identify as male, but my body has female characteristics. So that's trans, right? So cis is across, trans. So that's what that is. Then you can have somebody that's non-binary. They're like, I'm neither. So there's that. But then when we talk about sexual orientation, heterosexual, lesbian, gay, bisexual, that's what that is. So there's all these different things. But when this country was founded, none of that was at play. I'm a rich, heterosexual, white man. That's it. So if you don't fit into that
only category.
That's the only way. They had mothers, they had wives, they had daughters. They did not care. When they said all men were created equal, they were talking about them. They weren't talking about the people that were enslaved. So it's like, we started out on the biggest lie ever. You can't say all men are created equal when more than half of your population is in bondage. And you did that intentionally and continued to do it and perpetuate it. And this is why history matters. And I also feel like it's why CRT has been conflated with the teaching of actual history. Because if you knew and understood, you'd know the rules to the game, you'd understand the framework, you'd understand political power. All of this goes back to two things: census and voting. At the core, the founding fathers, the framers, they said political power and wealth will be distributed based on total population count. They started the census in 1790. In 1790, our ancestors were still enslaved. So if you lived in the South and you were the rich, cisgendered, heterosexual, white guy, you're like, wait a minute, I can't have representation because there's not enough white people, because they were breeding Black bodies to do work. So we've always outnumbered whites. In South Carolina to this day, it's still 8-1. 8-1. For every one white person, there are 8 Black people. Now do the math. If we all showed up to vote, guess what? They could never win. It's a numbers game. So,
we do know too, and I hate to interrupt you, but we do know too that the census is incorrect. We do know,
right?
And we
20 million Black people undercounted,
right? But undercounted.
We are deeply wedded to the Constitution in this country, so you might as well say these are the rules. We can't change the rules because it's really hard to change the Constitution. I mean, really hard. So they're like, okay, well, I can't change the rules, so how can I win? I gotta cheat.
Yeah.
This is what you're noticing right now. The cheating is happening. The cheating looks like voter suppression. The cheating looks like the school to prison pipeline. It looks like, because when you go to prison, I've literally replicated slavery because you cannot vote and I get your labor for free.
That's it.
So there's that. So who's in jail? Black and brown people.
Yeah.
Who outnumbers white people? Black and brown people.
And do we not know
not in the game.
Right. And do we not know the amount of money this country is making off of our children's back and off of the back of our Black men, primarily our Black men in prison?
That's how this country operates. It's what it knows. It's like, who built this country? Enslaved Black people.
Right.
This country operates on free labor. Look at Amazon. They just spent millions of dollars to stop their workers from unionizing to have better working conditions. And the money that they spent, they could have provided the better working conditions. But no. I need your labor for free to low cost because that's how this was designed. And nobody there's all these distractions to take it to the individuals and not to look at the systems and institutions that created this mess. We're so busy. It's like, but it's the systems and institutions. Like, there's a comment in the chat from Bishop. Tops was the only full-service supermarket in a 15-mile radius and the only place for many of the residents, particularly the elderly, to go to.
Yeah.
We are in Springfield. Mason Square does not have a full-service grocery store.
He primarily killed elderly
15-mile radius. East Hampton, Northampton, Southampton, they have far less people. They got like 7 grocery stores.
I got something I want to share with you about that. You know, honestly, oh Lord, I did not know 10:55. So we got to get ready. Lord Jesus, we got to get ready. Tanisha, I can talk to you all day, but you know that though. So I do have a couple of announcements. Lord have mercy. Let me calm down because you unpacked so many things, you know, so much that I wanted to respond to, but I don't think we're gonna have time. But oh Lord, thank you so much, you know, for coming and having this conversation today. We didn't get to have a conversation about mothers and Black mothers in particular, and the you know, just by being a mother and the weight that is or can be on our mental health. So I want to bring you back when Ms. Zeta can join us because she was here for conversation number 1 on that, part 1 on that. I want to bring you back to join in on that conversation too. So hopefully, you know, we can put that on the books, you know, real soon. Before May is out, but especially with it being Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yep.
Yeah, but I wanted to make a couple of announcements before we go, and I think you might have one too, you know, or maybe a couple. But just kind of getting back to the grocery store thing. One of the ministries, I'm calling it a ministry, right? One of the ministries that we are working on right now is called the Queen Mother's Garden, and we are extending it. And so you're the first to hear this announcement, everybody. We will be having the Queen Mother's marketplace added to the on-site days during the summer months in July and in August. So what's happening is, Tanisha, is Spring of Hope Church, our church, we've donated some of our land in the field that we own, and we have started a community garden. Yay. We are so excited about it. So it's not just a community garden. This is free and open to the public. We're going to learn how to create our own gardens at home. We're going to learn how to can food. We're going to learn how to jar food. We're going to learn how to preserve food. We're going to learn how to complement in our growth, you know, put certain produce together so it grows healthier, so it grows better. We're going to learn how to build our own raised gardens, you know. It's so much that we're about to learn. We're going to learn recipes. We're going to learn as a community. We're going to learn how herbs or what kinds of herbs helps with our respiratory system. It's so many things. How to grow organic, you know, how to grow organically, you know, and all of this kind of stuff. We're really excited about it. Spring of Hope is the first site, but we are hoping that other organizations like Arise and other faith-based institutions, you know, other religious institutions, the mosque is going to come on board, and a whole lot of other places that have, you know, a certain amount of land. We are hoping to also bring this ministry to those places and create community gardens all over or throughout the city to at the very least, supplement what we are eating at home. As you just mentioned today, grocery stores, good where you can find good produce and good, food, healthy food, or whatever, is difficult for a lot of people, especially people who are not as mobile, don't have transportation, or just poor people dealing with, poverty. And so having your own garden is a way to kind of help combat the food insecurity crisis that a city like Springfield is experiencing. So we're looking very forward to that. If there's anybody out there that's interested in starting your own garden, whether it be at home or if you are in charge of an institution where you have some space and you want to do a little community garden, please, reach out to myself right now, Cynthia Davis Swan on Facebook, and I'll give you more information. We do meet every Saturday right now at 4:00. One is on site, and then the following week is a virtual meeting where we're pretty much going over what we're doing and what the next steps are, and so on and so forth. And so, like I said, I'm very excited about adding the marketplace to some of those Saturdays, on-site Saturdays. And so that's open to any vendor. We would love it. We would love it if you have a product that is natural, that is organic, that is whole. I don't care what kind of product it is. It could be soap. It could be, I don't know, materials or whatever. If you have a organically whole, healthy, product that you sell, that you produce or whatever, we really want you to participate in the marketplace. But it's not exclusive, to just those kinds of products. It's any vendor. This is any vendor in the area that would like to participate in our marketplace during the summer months. Please get in touch with me, Cynthia Davis Swan, on Facebook. Inbox me or whatever. Reach out to me, and I will respond. We're really looking forward to that. So I want to make that announcement. Also, I wanted to remind everybody that Juneteenth is coming up. Juneteenth is coming up in the city under the leadership of Tracy Whitfield and Justin Hurst. We are looking forward to having a Juneteenth weekend starting on June 17th, 18th, and then highlighted on the 19th, which is the actual holiday. But I think it's going to be celebrated that Monday with the companies and with the state that observes Juneteenth as a holiday, and the city that observes Juneteenth as a holiday. It's going to be celebrated on that Monday. But the 17th, we're going to be having our opening ceremony at the Veterans. What's the name of that park in Mason Square? The Veterans Park right there in Mason Square. Lord, I forgot the real name, but it's right there where the veteran statue is in Mason Square, right across from the one and only market in Mason Square too, right across from right there on State Street. So forgive me if I forgot the actual name. I will have the actual name next time we talk. As a matter of fact, I got a meeting with them today. So that'll be the opening ceremony at 12:00. Sister Tanisha is going to be our keynote speaker on that day. So we want everybody in the city that can take your lunch break, do whatever you need to do to be with us at 12:00 on June 17th. And then we're going to have events, that evening all throughout the rest of the day, throughout the city. The same thing on the 18th, starting in the morning, all the way through Saturday evening. And then Sunday morning, we're going to start with a gospel brunch, a Father's Day brunch, because that's Father's Day, Tanisha. So Father's Day gospel brunch, we're going to go into a church service that I've been blessed to be in charge of. We're going to have a short church service, and I think everybody's going to love, what's happening there. And then following that, it's going to be a huge festival over at in the waterfront, over at the waterfront downtown downtown at the waterfront. So a lot of stuff going on. Did you have an announcement, Tanisha?
I have two.
Okay.
To piggyback on what you were saying. So Arise does have a community garden.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's one of the things because growing food is an act of political resistance.
Yes, it is.
Knowing that, right? And it's a space where we could come together, playing in the dirt, touching the earth is also part of us, like culturally. Like we were the growers and farmers. That's why some of our ancestors were brought here, because we knew how to grow things.
We knew how to grow things.
Right. So this is also returning back to who we are as people. Like you'll see this resurgence of people with their indoor plants and growing things outside. And even if you live in an apartment and don't have space, there are options to be able to have, herb things in the window. We can find some ways to grow some stuff, and it's healing, it's therapeutic. And also you get to decide about what kinds of things to put into your body. That resistance, right? Because a lot of diseases that we experience in community are connected to our diet, and not having a full service grocery store contributes to that diet and the health disparities. So there's that. And then with Juneteenth, there are lots of celebrations happening all across the city, which I think is great. Arise is having its 11th annual Juneteenth celebration on June 19th. I will be at the park formerly known as Pendleton. I forget the new name. Everything there is free. We are gathering up our vendors. They can hand out their swag and all kinds of stuff. And it's traditionally been a good time. There'll be performers, and then you can come there 12 to 3 and then go on to the next thing. Go to the the brunch gospel service first. Go out to this Juneteenth celebration and go down to the waterfront.
We're gonna hit it out. We're gonna hit it out.
We deserve joy.
That's it.
To be happy and have gratitude and everything else. And yes, I will name part of the gaslighting is we will give you Juneteenth as a federal holiday, but we're not going to teach why there's a Juneteenth.
Thank you.
Like that part.
I just had
that part
on my job.
So we can talk about the things and gather in those spaces, and even guerrilla activism, like, why are you here? Like, let's get registered to vote. This is what we need to do because midterms are coming. Like, the pressure is always on. So I'm always going to talk about these things in all the spaces because that's what our ancestors did, because they always knew. Yeah. We need to continue to know, like, these things are about survival, but then also getting to a place of thriving, because we need to come up out of survival and be able to thrive. That's our ancestors wanted rest. They wanted bodily autonomy, and they wanted us to be able to thrive and not be under the same conditions that they were.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do the best that I can to honor, the sacrifice that they made. So that I could have better, and so that I could give my children better, and so that they can give their children better. So so we're gonna do all of it,
I mean, the reality is, right, we are literally the elders now. Like, we are the elders. So we've got to do, this is the work that we have to do. Like, I'm sitting here like, wow, this is the transformation thing that some of my other friends who have already become grandparents, like, oh my gosh, you're gonna feel like this. Is like, I might not have felt all of those things, but I tell you what, though, I feel the thing where I will throat punch you about my grandbabies.
Yeah.
Whether that's the system, an institution, or a person. And it's like, this was always personal, but now it's really personal because these little people deserve something better than this.
Listen.
And we can't keep doing the same old stuff. And it's like, I will drag you for filth if you out here cleaning again. And I will drag you if you're a white person out here. And I got some white folks that's on my side, like, go and get your people. Because I think white people got to go and drag other white people. Black people, we got to drag our people. Like, what is you doing right now?
Listen here.
So,
listen, you getting me started because, I thought I was a beast about my kids, but I'm like,
yeah, you try it if you want to. Like, you gonna turn the other cheek. Your cheek gonna go that way.
I don't went to a whole nother level about these grandbabies though. It's like, hold up, no, bruh, no,
yep, like,
that's
don't
my,
try
that's
it.
my
Don't try it. So all of it, because
I don't have no tolerance. I have absolutely no tolerance for the foolishness.
That's
when
how
it comes
we
to my
need to
grandbabies.
move.
And I was like that, pretty much,
Mhm.
with my kids. But like you said, it's on a whole nother level with the next generation. It's on a whole nother level. Like,
I don't play about my kids. I'm not playing about these grandkids. And that's why this stuff needs to change. So folks who are listening, right? If you are not registered to vote, please get registered.
Yeah, that's
now. Like now. Make sure if you thought you was already registered, go check, because they are playing chess, not checkers. And chess looks like we are disenfranchising voters. We are closing polling places. We are making it illegal for you to have water. We doing all the things because we got to cheat because we can't win.
Right.
So
make a plan.
We need to know that this is what is at play and vote. And if you're going to say to me, oh, my vote doesn't matter. Yes, it does. It matters so much they're going to steal it from you. Our ancestors were killed for it because that is part of the rules that they can't change. Right. Your vote absolutely matters. Yeah. And if you think, well, I voted last time and nothing changed. If you're trying to get you a 6-pack abs, you can't go to the gym one time. You got to keep going. We have to keep doing this till we get to that place. And then even when we get to that place, we got to maintain that place. Right. So I need you to vote in every single election like your life depends on it, because guess what? It does. And these folks, they will burn this down under the illusion of superiority. They are coming for all of our rights. And if you think, well, I'm not having kids, so this reproductive stuff doesn't have anything to do with me. Actually, it does.
It has everything to do with you.
If you think, well, they don't want gay folks to get married, I'm not gay, ain't got nothing to do with me. It actually does. And I'm going to speak on that one because my grandparents were an interracial couple in Connecticut in the 50s, and my father was born in jail because that was illegal. And they said that biracial child growing in my grandmother's womb was an abomination. Loving v. Virginia didn't happen until 1967. My father was already
that's the year I was born.
8 years old. And that's why somebody like Clarence Thomas grinds my gears, because his own marriage hinges upon a court decision because he's married to a white woman.
Right, right.
So, bruh, what is you doing?
Right.
Coon in the game. I said it. I don't care. At me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah. Come on, at me.
At me. It's true. Jenny Thomas is like the 10th Supreme Court justice, right? Like, he's so entrenched. That's what, we don't need white folks to uphold white supremacy. We'll do it too. But Clarence, you still black. You blackity black black. So,
yeah, but you would be surprised, Tanisha, how many people don't even know that that's happening right now.
And that's why we've got to talk about history matters. This is why they don't want you to know. This is exactly why. Right. Because they have laid this stuff out, this historic precedence, like they've been at this forever. Ever. Like an Outkast song. This is not new. Right. We're just on repeat. And there is an elder who says, like, people that don't know their history, they're doomed to repeat it. That's us. They don't want you to know. Right. Because if you knew, you would be outraged. Right. You would do something entirely different. You would know the rules to the game. And when you know the rules to the game, you can play it. And we play really good. Yeah. When we get into the sports and all the things, we rock it. Because that's just who we are. Right. So register to vote.
We can
vote for the candidates who support us, not the ones that just look like us, because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Yeah, that's important too. Right. Vote for the issue, like for the people furthest away. We call that designing at the margins. Vote for the person who will have the hardest time accessing that resource, and if they could get the resource, so can everybody else. So we need to support the person who's like, we need to have legislation that supports disabled people, that, like, who would have the hardest time? If that's the focus, then everybody else will win. I promise you. Yeah. So I need you to register to vote. I need you to vote. I need you to do your census, show up at the school committee meetings, know what is going on.
Take off work already. Take off work.
Take it. Right. It's May. Tell your boss I ain't coming this day or the day before and after. Like, we can do these things. That is what it requires. That is what it requires. Yeah. Because if we don't do these things, literally, we are going to be in a position where there's going to be legal fascism, slavery, like all the Bishop ain't wrong. He's like, yo, we could be on the plantation by fall because the laws.
Yeah.
Donald Trump had us running around in circles. Crazy is a microaggression. So you got to find another word.
Right.
He appointed 200 and something judges.
Yes, he
the
did.
judges interpret the law. Every law that you and I have as Black people is because of judicial interpretation. That means a judge decided this is unconstitutional. This is. You
And
can't do this. You can't do this.
Most of them that he appointed can't even spell constitution.
And but the thing that they know how to do is uphold white supremacy.
That's it. They know how to
that's why we need to vote like our lives depend on it, because it does. Because if any of these things get challenged, even at the lower court, they're going to be like, oh, but guess what? This is perfectly fine. And yup, y'all should be in bondage, or yup, you shouldn't have this right. This is the game that they are playing. Chess, not checkers. Always look beyond the immediate. In Florida, this has nothing to do with don't say gay. Gay, 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 gay. It has everything to do with behind the scenes. Ron DeSantis is trying to pass a new district map that has cut out 2 representatives in Black communities. That is the chess move.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
That is the chess move.
Yeah.
But they just talking about Disney and don't say gay. Say gay, vote. This is the nonsense. And look for the steal. Always look for the steal. Not the low-hanging fruit. Because there's always a distraction, and white supremacy always has a cover. Know that. And then look deeper. Get it together and tell all your friends, your family. What you mean you don't vote? Come, slap inside head, do the thing. Come on, let's go.
I think we need to leave it at that. Unfortunately, we're 16 minutes past the hour, and so Bishop has to sign off. But listen, let that be the first action step. The fact that you need to make a plan to vote. Nobody can have an excuse about voting. You need to vote. You need to be informed about, who you're voting for. And don't look at national voting right now, because that's not even on the table. What's important is that you know what's going on locally and in your state. Know your state representative. Know your city council, your ward counselor. I don't know how because I'm talking to different people from different places. But however your city council is set up, know your city councilor. Know your ward representative. Know your school committee members. Know what's going on the school committee. Know your DA. Know your district attorney. That's really, really, really important. And if you have a mayor like we do that you need to get out, know what's going on in your city politics, and get a plan together, Black folks, so that we can band together collectively and we can vote with power and we can vote strategically. So, and it is all connected. I know we were talking about what happened in Buffalo, but nevertheless, it's really, 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 all of this is connected to politics. All of it is connected to politics. So I'm sorry, everybody. We gotta go. Tanisha, you gotta come back. You gotta continue the conversation. We gotta keep talking about mental health, and we gotta keep talking about what's going on, what's happening in this country. And we gotta keep coming up with some action plans. So, Melinda, if you still listening, trust me when I say I'm going to come back with some more action steps next time. I'm going to come back with some more action steps. What we can do, to save our mental health, to keep ourselves healthy and strong as we continue to live, but we also want to thrive.
All right. Blessings. I'm doing double duty. You all have been having an invigorating conversation. I've got one going on here with the White House and clergy. Those of you who are listening, please take all the information that has been put out there and do something with it. Don't just listen to it. Don't just be hearers of the word, but be doers of the word. All right, sis, you can close us out. I'm talking to you, First Lady.
I already did.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh, she closed us out. Okay, well, to everybody who's out there, until the next time, let me get the music popping then. You're supposed to give me a warning before you just close out. Until the next time, We talk to you and you talk to us. Always remember, God loves you, and so do we.
Way to do that, and they've given that some thought. They had training materials and that type of thing. So I know I'm putting that on you, Dr. Carruthers, and